I feel like I should have sung my own theme music, like what they did in American's Next Top Model. What you mean? This is my intro. I was gonna sing. Too late. You done already interrupted my song now. I was not talking to you. I was singing to the camera. Yeah. Period. My show, my rules.
I like it, girl, I like it, keep on like it, girl, I like it, girl, I like it, keep, girl, like it, girl, I like it, girl, I like it, girl, I like it, keep, girl.
Hey guys, welcome back to M3 Unscripted. If you're new to the channel, I'm M3. Very nice to meet you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for finding me. Let me know how you found me. Did you find me from Facebook? Did you find me from Instagram? Let me know how you found me and make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you're already a subscriber, thank you. Appreciate it. Welcome back to the channel. This is week 4 and this is insane. This is probably one of the most consistent things that I've ever done in my life, just on a weekly basis. But I'm doing this because of you guys. You guys have been so awesome and just feedback every week, letting me know that you guys are enjoying the show, sharing it with other people. So I really do appreciate it. So if you're new here, make sure you subscribe. Everybody like the video. Make sure you stop, like the video, turn on that notification bell. Is it turn on the notification bell? Hit the notification bell. Hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any time we upload or when we go live. So check it out. I do have plans to go live. Now when, I don't know, but I'm going live. But I'm going to do like a test live show just to kind of figure out how the lay of the land works with YouTube, because we experienced a lot of issues, just technology issues pre-recording. So doing it live, no telling what may happen. So I'm going to do a live show and I'm going to invite you guys in just so you can be in the audience, be in the comments to kind of help us work through what it's going to look like when I do start going live, because I do have, my production manager. He helps me, but I've been telling him for the last couple of weeks, like, you might need to help me do this, help me figure out how to do it on my own. So if I just want to be random one day, if I decide I just want to go live if some hot hit the internet and I need to talk about it, I want to be able to do it. So when I get ready to do that test video, I will let you guys know for sure. But thanks for tuning in. I think I'm at 188 subscribers. Again, it might as well be 188,000. Ask me. Like, thank you guys so much for the support. I feel like I'm moving at the pace of grace. So I'm okay with not having 1 million followers overnight, but I do appreciate you guys for just being so consistent and sharing and getting, helping people know that I'm here, right? So with that, I want you guys to get into the shoe of the week. What y'all think about these? These are some of my favorites. And it seems to be you guys' favorites too, because there's a 60% promo that is happening right now on shoesybougie.com. That's SB, that's my online shoe store. And this is one of the fan favorites. And what I love about them, first of all, I love a good boot. It's a chunky boot with a block heel. And it's that combat style, but it's houndstooth. I love houndstooth. I feel like houndstooth can go with anything. I love a good print, and houndstooth is at the top. So if you are a houndstooth girly, you like a good print, you love a good combat boot, and it's super comfortable. Super comfortable. Like, you can dress these up, you can dress them down. I love these, and they are 60% off through October 31st. So make sure you head over to the website and get yours today. And if you spend over $100, you get free shipping. Y'all know how we feel about shipping. We'll get to the end of the cart, and when that shipping come up, we will throw away the whole cart because we don't want to pay for shipping. But if you spend more than $100, the shipping's on us. So make sure you head over to shoesybougie.com. Order today. You got until the 31st to take advantage of the promo. No discount code needed. And you can follow us on TikTok, Facebook, and on Instagram. Appreciate the support. So I was going to do a different topic this week, because I take into consideration the questions you guys submit. I take into consideration the the feedback that I get. And sometimes I've had even some people come to me in real time, in person, say, you should talk about this or you should talk about that. But I felt the need to do an encore, so to speak, of last week's episode. This was not in the plan, but again, this is going off of what you guys submitted. And so we're going to call this show Deal Breakers 2.0. And so we're just going to do a deeper dive into last week's show. I felt like last week's show, I kind of breezed through some of the things a little bit and I focused on friendships. But this week, let's go ahead and head back over to the relationship side of the house. In last week's episode, we talked about deal breakers, but mostly about friendships. Like, what are some of the things that you consider to be a deal breaker, in your friendship, in your relationships? Of course, we talked about the 50-50 thing. And again, I'm not going 50-50 with nobody's son ever. And if you watched the last episode, you know what context I mean. So if you want to know what I mean by that, or you want a little bit more of background on my stance, go watch the episode and you'll catch it. But we talked about 50-50. We talked about being unequally yoked politically. We talked about being unequally yoked educationally and a few other things. And so I had some people to follow up with me on some other topics that I think are worth going a little bit deeper into. And so one of the things that you guys sent to me was living together before marriage. Okay. So to be completely honest, I have never been in a relationship that serious to where I would even consider living with somebody. I feel like you got to be grown to be making those type of decisions so early, but it has never even crossed my mind to merge my life in a way with somebody, like living together when we're not married. That's not something that I condone. I don't think that it's wise. And I know that some people say you don't know a person until you live with them. Possibly true. I mean, but what will you learn about a person by living with them that you wouldn't know just by spending enough quality time with them? Like, drop down in the comments, what is the difference? What will you learn from living with a person versus just spending a lot of time with them that would make a difference to make you feel like I need to live with you first? Because in my brain, if you spend enough time with them, you'll see everything that you need to know, especially if you spend enough time dating them through certain seasons. I believe that you need to date a person at least a year. The reason being, I feel like you need to give them enough time to stop showing you their representative. Because guess what? When you're dating somebody, you're going to get the best version of them in the beginning. Enough time needs to pass for you to be able to see who you're really dealing with and what they're really about. So I need to see you in the spring. I need to see you in the summertime when it's hot outside. And when the women outside, I want to see how you respond to that. I want to see how you do in the fall during cuddle season, during, when it get cold. I want to see how you are during the holidays to see if you spend money. I need to see all the seasons. So I'm going to date you long enough to feel like I can get to know you. And I also have a perspective. So I had a good work friend. And she is of a different religion. And we talked about that. We talked about being on equally yoked with friendships. But she and we were work friends, and I still consider her a friend. She's such a sweet girl, and she's super smart. Love her down. But she's Muslim, and she is her marriage was arranged. Her marriage was arranged. And I just found that interesting. And when she was talking to me about it, and I asked her, like, how does that go? How do arranged marriages really go? And she said what they do is they meet mutually, some kind of way. So whether it's somebody hooking you up, a friend or a friend, a family knows somebody, there's some type of mutual connection, right? And then from there, they may get together, they may do coffee or go to the park or go somewhere where they can get to know each other, right? So they're going to talk about family. They're going to talk about finances. They're going to talk about education. They're going to talk about credit scores. They're going to talk about beliefs. They're going to talk about children. They talk about all the things, right? So they do that on 1 or 2 dates. And then they sit back and wait for a proposal. That's insane to me. 2 cups of Starbucks, and then what's up? Where's my ring? And they base it basically on if we believe in the same things, the things that matter. They don't ask about what's your favorite color, do you like weave or natural hair, like none of that superficial stuff. It's based off of the things that they know they build their life and their families on. And if those things line up, she said they sit back and after that, after a couple of dates, they're waiting on a proposal. And I said, what I found so interesting about that is here we are living with people. Y'all been living together for 5 years and you still trying to figure out if that man want to marry you or if that's the woman for you. Like you've been pretty much cohabitating and blending y'all lives together and you still haven't determined if that's somebody that you want to do life with. So when she told me about how that goes, and maybe I'll do that in a different conversation, but I'm not against arranged marriages. When she kind of told me how that worked out, I'm like, maybe we need to take a little page out of y'all playbook on that one because, and she's been married happily ever since then. And I did ask her though. I did have to ask her. I said, so where does the love come in? And she said they build to the love. The love comes. And she said within a year or so, then she was in love with her husband. So she went in with love for him, but eventually, the love comes. And I was like, that's crazy. But again, I just think living with a person before you marry them, I just think it's unnecessary. And I think that it gives you a little bit too much insight if you decide you want to leave. That sounds crazy, but let me explain. I feel like if you're married, if you're already in covenant, we together. Paper file, the ink dry, we are together. If you don't like the way I live, or there's something about the way that you don't like the way I make up the bed, I don't sort the laundry right, things that you kind of identify with living with the person, you don't get to just exit stage left just because you don't like something. You have to work through it. You have to communicate through it. Baby, I don't like the way you just leave your underwear on the floor and walk over them every day. They've been there since you took them off Monday. It's Thursday and they still here. I can't leave you for that, or I don't like the way you keep leftovers in the refrigerator. Either I'm just gonna throw them out for you, or I'm gonna say, baby, it's time for you to stop leaving stuff in the refrigerator. I feel like it makes you work through things. I feel like it makes you have to get to know a person and you guys have to kind of work through some of those kinks. But if you've lived with a person for a year, it's like you tested it out. And if you don't like it, okay, I'm out. I don't like that. But tell me what y'all think. Y'all a fan of shacking up? That's what the church folks call it. Y'all a fan of shacking up? Y'all believe in living with a person? And if you have done it successfully, tell me about it in the comments. What would you say is one of the pros of living together? Even though I can probably name a few. But what are some of the pros? And if you did it and it did not work out, I want to hear about it. Drop down in the comments and let me know if that's something you are absolutely totally against going for it. Another thing that we kind of talked about was somebody left an interesting comment on the last video. They said a deal breaker for them is domestic violence. I don't even know why that has to be a topic. Like, do we even have to go into that? In relationships or friendships, if you are a friend and you know somebody that is going through domestic violence, and I think this question is, right on time because this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. If you are a friend and you know that you have someone that's close to you that's going through domestic violence, do you intervene? Do you say something? Or do you just, you're a part of the I mind my business culture? I'm not. Matter of fact, not only am I going to intervene, depending on who it is, I might jump in and fight you. We might have to jump you. Me and my homegirls, if I walk in or I witness any type of domestic violence and one of my homegirls is involved, one of my family members is involved, you know what? You may not have to be one of my family members or friends. If I'm on the street and I see a man just beating somebody down or vice versa, what is going on? I'm intervening. I am not the person who just turns a blind eye to things. I hate that about our culture. We have this mind my business culture. Absolutely not. Because you want everybody to mind their business until it hits your doorstep. or when it becomes your family member or your little sister or your daughter or whoever, because domestic violence can go both ways. But I'm not the person who turns a blind eye. And so in a friendship, if you are the abuser, I can't be friends with, I'm not friends with people who, are violent, period. Because I know, contrary to what I might seem, I'm a little spicy, but I'm not violent. I keep my hands to myself, as y'all should too. But I wouldn't be friends with someone who thinks it's okay to be violent towards people, period, to be violent, period. And violence just isn't, to me, that's not exclusive to just physical, me putting my hands on you. I'm not any emotional violence where you're just, antagonizing. I'm against people who vandalize other people's property. That's still violence. It's not domestic violence in the sense, in the context that we talk about it, but it's not okay to tear up people's stuff. It is not okay to tear up people's stuff. It's not okay to scratch up cars. It's not okay to bust windows. It's not okay to spray paint people's house and they walls in their home. It's not okay to just vandalize property. So if you do any of that stuff, I will probably have to call you out as a friend. I've called some people out. I won't say their name. They probably watch. That's not okay. And if you condone that, that's a deal breaker for me. If you're a person who believes that it's okay to just physically harm other people, you can't be my friend. You can't be my friend. You can't be my man. You can't be my homie. You can't be nothing, because that is a deal breaker for me. Um, Honesty and accountability. In romantic relationships, how important is it to you guys that a person is honest? That may seem like such a surface, like, yeah, duh, but I know some people who will stick around in relationships and they know that their person is lying. They will let that person gaslight them, tap dance and tootsie roll all over their intelligence, and make them believe something otherwise when they know that they are being dishonest. Dishonesty is a deal breaker for me. Dishonesty is a deal breaker for the simple fact, if I know you don't tell the truth, I don't trust you. And if I don't trust you, I can't be with you. And that's, again, we keep flipping this coin between relationships and friendships. That's on both sides of the coin. If you are not a person that I feel is trustworthy, I don't feel like you're safe, I don't feel like I can trust you, that's a deal breaker for me. Because the type of person that I am, if I know that I can't trust you, now I feel like I got to stay 2 steps ahead of you. And who got time to do that? Who has time to have to be Carmen Sandiego, Inspector Gadget, and stay 2 steps ahead of you just because you're always lying, or you're always being dishonest? You're always lying by omission, because I think that's even worse. To me, if you have somebody that'll lie, like on reflex, like as a response, as a trigger, versus somebody who lies by omission, I think lying by omission is worse, because that's more calculated to me. You are thinking about what you're not going to say or not going to disclose. If I ask you, did you steal my bag of chips, out of pure survival, because most people just don't want to get caught, you probably say, no, that's a reflex. But if I ask you, did you steal my chips, and you say something like, y'all already know what time it is. Subscribe and like. Let's go. I don't know, this is probably a horrible example, but if you say something like, I was in the room and I saw that they were missing, but I'm not sure where they went. Like some little sketchy roundabout way of not telling the truth. I don't like that. I don't like that because I feel like that's calculated and I feel like it's manipulative. So like if you leave things out or if I run down a list to you of things that you've done or things that I kind of found out and I say I went in your room and I saw this and I found that and I found this and it made me feel some type of way and then you say, "Oh, well, I'm sorry that I made you feel that way." Something like like people who just deflect and dance around stuff. I don't like it. That's a bigger deal breaker for me than you just telling me a lie out of sheer reflex. But that's a deal breaker for me as well as accountability. If you are not a person who will take accountability for your actions, I can't do you. Period. You have to be accountable. You have to be responsible. That's one thing that I pride myself on being. I pride myself on being an accountable person. If I did something or if I said I'm going to do something, I make sure that I do it. If I was wrong in some way, I will move heaven and earth to right my wrongs. I'm not a perfect person. Can y'all believe that? I know, but I'm not perfect. However, when I am found out to be imperfect and I do something wrong, I right my wrongs fully. I don't, try to let time pass and try to just, enough time to pass. We just gonna move on, brush stuff under the rug. I believe in addressing things head on. Address it head on, find out identify what I did wrong, what would be the solution to where we get complete resolve, and then what is the action going forward that needs to be seen from me so that we don't end back up there. That's me. End to end accountability. But if that's not something that you can do, that's hard for me. It's hard for me to say if it's a deal breaker because I will be honest and saying there have been some things that I have let skate, but I have learned that when I don't address things head on, then eventually it comes back up again. And then it comes back up again. And then I catch myself always giving grace. So it's one of those things when I find you out the first time, bye. When you show me you're not willing to take accountability the first time, it's done for me because I don't have time to be constantly trying to make you be something that you're not, constantly trying to tell you how I felt, constantly trying to make you change your behavior. I don't have time for that because eventually I'm going to get exhausted with that. And then it's going to turn into a whole different situation where my character going to be different. And I don't like being in situations where I allow people to take me out of character. And that's really where it starts and stops with me. Like I'm at a point now where I protect my character at all costs. You are not going to do anything that's going to taint my reputation, taint my image. You're not going to have people out here talking about Miracle is crazy and all that. No, I'm going to be out because at the end of the day, if I have to keep constantly, trying to make you change, you're not going to change anyway. So I might as well go ahead and let you be and let somebody else deal with it. But you guys tell me, is that something? Have you been in a situation where you have grace for people who are just dishonest and not accountable? Drop down in the comments and let me know. And another big one that everybody kept kind of just wanting to talk about, and I actually had a really interesting conversation about this one. And it's about people being spiritual versus religious. I don't know why people really think that they can separate one from the other. In my brain, if you are a spiritual person, meaning you believe in God, you believe in a higher power, um, there still has to be a certain level of discipline and consistency that comes with that. And so if you're a person that believes in God, but you don't want to go to church, how? Like, why? Like, especially if you believe, well, there's only one true and living God. You know what, y'all? I felt like I have to be honest about something. I felt like I was tiptoeing a little bit. When I first started this channel, I told myself like this wasn't gonna be like I wasn't gonna come on here preaching. So I was gonna skate a little bit. Like they gonna know who I believe, what I believe, but I'm not gonna be too preachy. But the more and more I do this, I'm like, listen, sometimes you gotta stand 10 toes down on what it is and let folks know what it ain't. Because when I watch some of these other channels and some of these other platforms, they are extremely vocal. They hold no bars. They censor nothing when it comes to what they believe. And so I said, you know what? I'm not going to censor myself either. If this is not the channel where you feel that you want to be a part of because I believe in the one true living God, Jesus Christ, if that ain't what you want, you know, stay subscribed because you might learn something and hopefully the Holy Ghost will talk through it. But I don't know what to tell you because the stance is not going to change. The perception, the perspectives are not going to change. I have to go with what God gives me. So that's that. So what was I saying? I was talking about being spiritual versus being religious. If you are the type of person you believe in God and there's only one true living God, period. If you are a person that believes in God, why do you forsake going into God's house? I mean, think about that. And I understand, and this is the hard part with that. Some people are so, some people have been really turned off by the church. And that's so unfortunate because I can't sit here and say that there aren't some churches who have really misrepresented Christ. There are. I see some of the craziest stuff on social media sometimes. I'm just like, people misrepresent God in the worst way, and then they wonder why people are turned off from going to church. And so, because there are so many false pastors and false prophets, I could see why people, don't believe in the the entity of church. They don't believe in the organization of church. I can understand that, but I believe that if you are a blood bought believer and you believe in God, I think that you should be prayerful in praying to God to help lead you to a church that is true and to a church that is legit. I don't think that should be an excuse for you to just sit back at home and just say, I don't go to church. I just pray to God on my own. Nah. Can you have a relationship with God outside of church? Yes, you can. But is that wise? No, because it's not just about going to church for um just to meet God. You can meet God right in your home, absolutely. But you need to be around other believers who are not only going to help you, you want to be in worship. There's nothing like being in the house of God. You can watch online, and I've watched service online and I felt God through my TV. You can listen to worship music, but it ain't enough Maverick City. It ain't enough uh whoever you listen to, that is going to be the same as when you are in the sanctuary and actually experiencing the glory and the atmosphere of God. It's just nothing like it. So let me just say that. But, you need to be around other people that are Christ minded, that can help you sustain your journey because it's hard out here. Y'all know that. Well, no matter what side of the fence you on, it's hard. Whether you're spiritual, whether you're religious, whether you believe in God, whether you don't, it is hard out here. And so being surrounded by people who are like minded to help support you, I think is more important than what people give it credit for. I remember I really used to be isolated in my introversion because, like I shared, I'm very much so an introvert. And sometimes, if you don't watch it, introversion can turn into isolation. And I spent a lot of time sometimes just being so isolated that um, I would cause myself to just not interact with anybody. And in isolation is when the devil likes to play with your mind the most. And so ever since then, once I kind of identified that that would happen, I'm by myself. I start, having these thoughts, or I start kind of falling away. I realized that you have to, you got to have some accountability around you. And being in those atmosphere, being in church, other people can pick up on when you're not where you need to be. I've had so many church mothers who have clocked my tea. I've had so many church mothers to clock my. There's nothing like a church mother clocking your tea. A church mother will walk up on you. You just said good morning. Hey, good morning. And they start speaking in tongues. Over with. Over with. And so, like, for me, it's nothing like just having that accountability, having that covering, having just people around you that really support you in your Christian walk. And so that's a deal breaker for me if you want one without the other. You want to be religious without spirit, you want to be spirit without being religious. I think you have to be both. And I again, you have to be a believer. I don't believe in I think that's dangerous to try to align yourself with someone who believes something else, thinking that you can convert them. That's not something you can do. That's something that God can do. That's something God has to do. But to try to link yourself with them thinking you're going to be the game changer, that could be dangerous because you don't know what that person is dealing in, and it could be stronger than just you. And so that's not something that I would play around with. That's just me. But drop down in the comments. You tell me, are you, engaged in a some type of relationship with a person who says that they're spiritual but they're not religious? Let me know how you guys handle that in the comments. So the last thing that I wanted to address in this week's episode is relationship idolatry. Relationship idolatry. And the reason this came up is because I realized that this is something that I was actually guilty of, like in real time. And if you break down what relationship idolatry is, if it could be defined, it is any relationship where you put a person or a relationship or any type of romantic love above God or above God's priorities. And I think that even in this realm that we're in, where relationships are just always at the forefront, everybody is talking about couple goals. You're talking about, relationships just being the number one thing that you're concerned about, uh, pursuing relationship, getting wanting to be married, and people pretty much jumping off the cliff to find their person. I think that it's very important that you don't find yourself idolizing the idea of relationship or the person that you're in relationship with. I think that's very dangerous. And how you know that you have, you know, found yourself falling into relationship idolatry. Anytime that you are putting that person, that relationship above God or above the word of God, you're falling into idolatry. Um, I found myself, if I'm being completely transparent, um, I talk to my person every day, but I don't pray every day. I'm running to text them and, talk to them every day, but I don't read my word every day. You're compromising certain things that you normally wouldn't do or would do because, for the relationship when you know that that's not really what God wants you to do. And it doesn't necessarily just mean being in sin, because you don't necessarily have to, commit any physical sin for it to be idolatry. But when you start doing things that don't line up with you spiritually or morally, I think you're starting to fall into idolatry. And I think that is something that could be very, very easy to find yourself in when you've been single for a long time, or where you're when you're in a relationship and you weren't whole before you went in, and so there's certain voids and deficits that you're operating out of, and now it's allowing you to allow certain things, or diminish certain boundaries because you want this person, or you want to be in a relationship. But I would caution you and encourage you to make sure that you prioritize God correctly. Make sure you put God at the top of the list. God and your relationship with Him should always supersede your relationship, your any romantic relationship or friendship that you're in. If you're not submitted to God, and if they're not submitted to God, then you need to really rethink that relationship. I would even argue that if you're in a relationship with someone that is pulling you away from God, so some things can be on you, because I'm not, entertaining or dating anybody who is telling me, pulling me away from God. These are things that I caught myself doing. But if you're in a relationship or you're entertaining somebody and they are pulling you away from God, they're telling you you don't need to go to church, you don't need to do that church stuff. They're promoting you to, have sex. They're promoting you to, to do anything that speaks against the word. You need to rethink that relationship. You need to rethink that relationship. And I don't think that people, of course, people aren't perfect. So people have their imperfections. Everyone is flawed. So I'm not saying you're dealing with someone who's flawed and they're working on their flaws. I'm not saying that. I'm saying people who have made the decision that this is the life that they're going to live and they want you to follow suit. You need to rethink that, because no one that God sends for you is going to pull you away from him. And that's on period. So just make sure, like, do a little checklist. Do a little checklist, because that's what I had to do. If you are spending more time with that person than you are with God, if you are prioritizing that person over God, if you are, you know, diminishing boundaries and doing things that you normally wouldn't do, that go against God, but you're doing it for them because you love them, or you just want to be in a relationship and you'll do anything to maintain a relationship, might got some searching to do. I need to rethink that, and you need to see and pray and ask God, what is it about this relationship that is, pulling me away from you? And if this is somebody that I need to start pulling away from. That's just me. You guys pray and see what God tells you. But that is today's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed the discussion for today. Again, drop down in the comments and tell me what you think about, more deal breakers, deal breakers 2.0. What are some other things that, fall into those categories of things that definitely can be make or break when it comes to your relationships? And then drop down in the comments and let me know if you found yourself victim of relationship idolatry. If you're one of those people who you had to realize you were losing God because of a relationship or a person that you were in a relationship with, drop down in the comments and let me know what you guys think. Again, if you haven't already, make sure you go and visit SB. Go to shoesybougie.com. There's a 60% off promo going through the end of October 31st. Free shipping on any order that's over $100, and it's a automatic discount. You don't have to type in anything. You just go in, add it to your cart, check out, and then that discount promo is there. So make sure, again, you're following me on socials at I Am Miracle Malone. So that's on Instagram, that's on Facebook, and I'm on TikTok. And make sure that you guys just leave some comments, leave some feedback, because that is what helps to motivate me and keeps me inspired to come on here every week and give you guys episodes. So hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you subscribe and like the channel. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.